Someone shows up.
All right, we got a thumbs up, so we are Facebook Live. I want to welcome everybody to our work session in preparation for our recess meeting of Tuesday, May 17th at 5:30 here at City Hall. We are on the second floor of City Hall at this time in our little area that we use as a work session. So we have a presentation this afternoon, morning, sorry, still morning, this morning by Mike Slaughter of Slaughter and Associates. They did our annexation, which was finalized, and Mr. Slaughter is going to take a victory lap and provide us with additional information.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you being here.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and it really is. I requested this meeting, and so certainly I'm not billing the city for my time at all. I'm down here really for the victory lap to congratulate the mayor and Alderman Sistrunk. They both testified in the trial. All the department heads worked very hard. Chris Latimer and John Hill did a great job on it, and congratulations. I think is something that will make this community even better, not just the city of Starkville. And certainly I appreciated the opportunity personally and professionally to be a part of that. And so thank you very much for that opportunity. Just a few things I wanted to give you today, and this won't take long, but I've handed out to each of you. If you don't have a copy of this letter, this is sort of a post-annex letter that just a little summary that can help make sure you take care of some paperwork. Some important things: sales tax. It was over $150,000 a year coming in from sales tax out there. That's of the 7% that's paid in sales tax throughout the state. If a business is in a city, 18.5% of that comes back to that community, goes into your general fund for police protection, fire protection, street maintenance, drainage, street lights, things like that. So that's very important. That's not costing anybody anything extra. Of course, you'll want to make sure that you get with the county and update the city's boundaries, assess values, and all of that from a tax standpoint, from a property tax standpoint. Because this annexation was finalized prior to July 1, come January, you should be receiving taxes from the enlarged city. As far as ad valorem taxes, you should be receiving the auto tags on a monthly basis as they're renewed or someone buys a new car. So you want to make sure that you get with the county and take care of that. And I'm going to talk about the rating bureau. Let me put up a couple of maps here. But obviously the city is a class 3 fire rating, which is a very good fire rating. The fire ratings run from a 1 to a 10, with 10 being basically no fire protection at all. You don't even need a water hose to have a class 10. And so a class 3 is very, very good, and it can be a lot of savings. I'm going to switch from this letter to, I've had another handout to you. It starts out with demographic data. And this is just a little jog your memory. I know it's been a while. And this document was actually prepared before the 2020 decennial census came out. We have 2019 estimates. In the annexed area, we had back then, almost 1,500 people that were annexed into the city. It's probably more than that now. So this demographic data sheet gives you an idea of land area, population, population density, the number of businesses, the fire rating. This actually says a 4, but you've gone down to a 3 since then on the fire rating. And I have a base map here which is similar to the one that you have framed. This is also a base map that just shows the entire city in the green here. And then this one I want to talk about. This is a zoom, one we used in trial, our land use map. You can see there's 20, at that time, was 25 businesses located in the area. So this is a zoom in on the area that was annexed. The yellow single family, brown's mobile home or manufactured home, orange is multifamily, red's commercial, so you can see the land uses there. And the next page is our general fund financial analysis. I want to share that with you. This is a document that was utilized in trial. As far as the revenues, you can see we estimate the property taxes on it and project that out 5 years into the future. Franchise fees, license and permits, as well as intergovernmental revenues. And there's two items there. Sales tax, which again ranges from about 150 to 160,000. Well, actually, we held that flat. Lisa and I, we decided to hold that flat. It was around 159,000, and we held that flat. It could likely to grow. And then we have the county road and bridge tax. That's some revenue that you will get as well. And then we projected the expenditures, and that was based on, we have our services and facilities plan, which outlines everything you'll need from personnel and equipment standpoint by department. And so the expenditures are based on that. We have our expenditures for general government, the police department, that's adding personnel and equipment, providing the same level of services, the fire department, community development, engineering and streets, civil defense, and parks and recreation. And the important thing you can see is really going to the bottom line here. As projected in year one after annexation, it has a slight deficit around $64,000 because you're getting a lot of things completed in year one, whether it be redistricting, comprehensive planning, zoning, adding additional personnel and equipment. But then after that, you can see where it's in the black from year 2 all the way through year 5. Now, these numbers can change depending on how many officers you add, equipment you buy, sales tax, and so forth. But we took these and worked hand in hand with Lisa and looked at the history, made a projection out into the future based on growth. And so I think these are pretty solid numbers. Obviously, I wouldn't have testified about them in trial if I didn't believe that. So I wanted to share that with you because it's probably been a while since you have seen these numbers as well. And the last one is important. This comes from the Rating Bureau, the ISO homeowners HO3 PC rate relativity. This has to do with your fire rating and potential savings on fire insurance premiums. I'm going to flip to one more map, and I'll be glad to leave all these maps with you if you like. You can see in the city, we're class 3. Most of the annexed area is a class 7, so not nearly as good as the city. There's a portion that's a class 10, and that being where the retreat is located is a class 10. That's the worst fire rating you can have. So I put this chart together and I doctored it up for Starkville to show the yellow line has to do for frame structures. And you can see where I've drawn in the class 3 and a class 7. Going from a 7 to a 3 adds up to 11.67% saving in homeowners in your fire insurance premiums. If you go from a class 10 to a class 3, over 30% savings there. So that's a benefit to those that were annexed into the city. Now, if you have a commercial business or an industry, those are rated individually. The Rating Bureau will come in and rate those individually, but the savings still should be substantial. We just don't have that data because they're rated individually. The red line has to do with masonry construction, and because they're a little bit more fire resistant, the savings not quite as much, but it's pretty close. Going from a class 7 to a class 3 is 11.19%. You're going from a class 10 to a class 3 is 27.95%. So I think out of 170 trial exhibits and so forth, certainly this services and facilities plan that you have a copy of is important that you want to follow. But also, these 3 documents I thought would be a little bit informative since it's been a while since I've been before this board, and now that we have the annexation behind us that you might want to have, and certainly share with residents that were annexed, especially from the rating bureau. Yes, ma'am.
I know when we were talking about the fire rating changes that I talked to my insurance agent, and they would pick that up with the next insurance policy unless I called them ahead of time and told them that there had been a change. So I think it would be important for people who live in that annexed territory to reach out to their insurance agents and see if they can get that adjustment now.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I appreciate you saying that. So that's important, not only for the city to be proactive on some things they need to do, but for the new residents to do that as well and save money. So I think it'd be worth the effort. So.
And further on, anything else in your letter that you want to highlight to us?
Well, obviously, you're going to need to do the redistricting. That's something that my firm, we do a lot of around the state. Right now, I'm working in Lowndes County on theirs, and we do a lot of that. Another one would be applying in the service and facilities plan. We put in there, we're going to update the comprehensive plan and apply zoning to the annexed area. The reason we had update the comprehensive plan is this. In Mississippi, zoning must be based on an adopted comprehensive plan. That's the planning legislation. That's the law in Mississippi, and it's good law. Well, the comprehensive plan that you have right now may cover most of the annexed area. But my recommendation is that all of your maps in that do not have the right city boundary. You may have a future land use map that identifies future land uses in your comprehensive plan, but certainly zoning has got to be applied. And I think it's very important for everybody to have input on that through public meetings and public hearings, just like when I prepared the county's comprehensive plan back in 2014, we had some great public meetings and public hearings on that. So based on the planning legislation, I recommend you update your comprehensive plan. You seek that public input on future land uses, as well as updating your zoning ordinance. And it'll probably be mostly your map. I think you have a pretty good text, but the text and the map make up the zoning ordinance. So update the map. If that input from the citizens out there as well, you'll definitely still provide sound planning principles and do that. If you just do what everybody says, I want this, I want that, that's really no planning. So, but it's important to get their planning input. And I have brought with me, and I will pass out to you, I just took the liberty to put together a letter of agreement on that. If the city needs some assistance on updating their comprehensive plan and applying zoning to the area, we'd welcome the opportunity to help in any way that we can. And also on any of the post-annexation requirements, just like the maps we prepared for Mr. Latimer to make sure he covered all the legal requirements with filing with the county, the Secretary of State's office, and Mr. Latimer has a copy of this letter as well. And so whatever you all need to bring this to a successful conclusion, just reach out to us anytime, and we'd welcome that opportunity to be of assistance. So.
Okay, appreciate it. Any questions of Mr. Alderman Beatty?
Thank you. Mr. Slaughter, thank you for the great work done for us on this annexation, this information, and coming today. The Mississippi Infrastructure Modernization Act, which is this internet sales tax or use tax that cities are getting part of now, that's going incrementally, but I think by 24 it'll be at 15% that counties and cities get of whatever the state collects on that. The city's formula for how that would be distributed, municipalities' formula was going to two things. Half of it based on population, half on what your if I get off base, half on what your retail sales or sales tax diversion was as a percentage of all municipalities' sales tax diversion. My question to you is this: since we're increasing population, we will increase retail sales tax and our diversion out here. were those numbers on our population and retail sales frozen when that thing went in? Or will it be evaluated as our population increases as a percentage of whatever the municipal, whatever the formulas are? Or what do you know about that?
You know, I do not know off the top of my head if that was frozen or not at the time that was created. That's a good question, but I do not know the answer. And Chris, I don't want to put you on the spot or pass the buck, but do you have any knowledge of that?
No, we can look at it. and
Our
handle
city
it.
clerk, May, do you have any information on
I
that?
believe they have, I've contacted the Department of Revenue, and they asked that we send a letter asking that our population be reviewed
Okay.
based on this information.
And that's certainly a good recommendation. I just don't know really the legal answer, but if you could pursue that, and if you need any up-to-date data on that, because obviously that's gonna impact your numbers.
And our sales tax increasing anyway, Lisa, is the retail sales thing fluid, or does this Department of Revenue juggle that every year to determine who's got what percentage, that thing like that, or is that just, they just said it?
I'd like to jump in and say, it's not fixed in that the city of Starkville, in the first year that there was a diversion, got a little over 1.25% of the total diversion for municipalities. We're currently getting a little over 1.5%. So the number is changing, and I don't know
And
if
it'll
they're.
change more with this.
Yeah, so I don't know how often they update what, but I do know that the number's changing.
And that is something that's not in this post-annex letter that's important, because that's something that's relatively new, and so that's another source of revenue that's important, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any questions?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thank you so much. We
Thank
appreciate you coming
Thank
down.
you so much.
Thank you very much.
And all the help that we got from you, we really,
Hey.
it mattered.
It was a pleasure. I enjoyed working with each and every one of you. You have a great city, a great staff, and I know you're thankful to have them. Thank you very
Absolutely,
much.
they are wonderful. Thank you, sir. All righty.
I'll put these maps over here just in case you
Okay.
want to change out some over there. And if you need any more additional maps, just let me know.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All righty. If there is nothing else, we can go into our agenda. And by the way, just for purposes, since y'all have this letter, one of the things we have already, I've been in contact with Mr. Wyndham, and he is satisfied with the information. I sent him both the final decree and a map. He said it's fine with him, so that piece has been done. And we've done several of these other items, have we not, Mr. Latimer?
We have the Secretary of State item, and we filed the maps that we need to file with the land records in the Ottawa County Chancery Clerk's office.
Okay, all right. Well, then we've whittled away at it so far. We'll go through the rest of it, so.
And I'm written
Yes, ma'am.
in the Department of Revenue on the
Okay.
front page for the sales tax.
Okay, great. Love it. All righty. Okay, so, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, an updated list of businesses that are out there. We've got somebody,
Actually, I sent them the list that the mayor gave to me of the business parcels.
Yes, and that came from Mr. Slaughter's list, I believe.
so is it out of date?
Probably.
And just for information purposes, we're not taking the money away from county.
No.
No.
Nobody gets the money, the sales tax money out there right now, but the state of Mississippi, so we just started getting a diversion on it.
Bringing it back where it belongs. All right, thank you. Okay, so we have 3 sets of minutes. Mr. Latimer, you have submitted those, or you've looked at those, and those are all good?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, do we have any issues with consent on those?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Oh, and I neglected to mention, today is Alderman Rupp's birthday, and so we have cake, and it is also Mr. Addy's last work session with us. He had his last board meeting with us, so we've got cake and some cookies coming. Vicky's bringing them, so there'll be a little pleasurable treat here in a few minutes after we get done with this.
Cake is good. I had to sample it, so I made sure it was okay. It's good to go.
All right, anything anyone wants to list from a board comment standpoint for the agenda purposes? None, and where's Mr. Ashford?
He's in his office, I believe.
Mr. Ashford, tucked away in the back there. I'm just trying to find out if I've got any introductions to make, so.
And this is on board minutes, right?
Well, Chris has already given a thumbs up on the board's minutes.
So what else, just anything else on the list of stuff? I'm going somewhere with that.
Okay, well, I'm confused, so you're gonna have to draw me a map.
and we'll talk about maybe a little bit this morning with the Cotton District Park, and I don't think that needs to be, I mean, there's
Oh,
no, that wouldn't be an agenda.
No,
Okay.
we're gonna work our way through. I was just trying to see if I needed to make any announcements, and I was gonna have it on the agenda, but, okay, so we have no public appearances, no public hearings, and we have, first up is the consideration of a board order to establish the annexed territory. Our tax assessor, Mr. Morgan, has asked for us to actually have a board order that reflects that. So that's all this is, and it is in accordance with the Mississippi Code, and it is in accordance with his specific request that we acknowledge that we intend to make the newly annexed territory subject to the ad valorem tax, which Mr. Latimer says he thinks it's probably not necessary, but based on the fact that we have a specific request, that we will do that. So that's what I'm asking for, is a board order.
It's a courtesy, right?
It is a courtesy. So if we could do consent for that one, that would be, there's nothing controversial about it.
I was waiting on her to go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was waiting on you.
No, it's a courtesy,
Yeah.
and I think it's very clear from state statute. The court case doesn't address it at all. State statute does, and I think this just gives the tax assessor something that he can show to people when they come in and complain.
Yes, and Mr. Latimer has said that it's,
It's okay.
Okay, so, good. All right, thank you.
Mr. Ashford is back.
Oh, you're hiding back there. Are there any introductions for, okay, thank you. Consideration of approval of the proposal for redistricting that was submitted, we had 4 proposals, and GTPDD submitted the most cost-effective proposal, so consent for that one? All right, good deal. We'll get that one rolling. Consideration of authorizing the mayor and sanitation environmental services director, Mr. Smiley, to determine the distribution of garbage bags. We have some occasional requests, particularly from new residents, and this would give us the opportunity to assess that and make that. Okay, is that good? All right, thank you. Consent for that one. And then Mr. Latimer suggested that we go ahead and make a proclamation on the termination of the existence of the local emergency. You know, we rescinded the 8th resolution last time, and this just allows us to formally proclaim a termination of the existence of the local emergency. So consent for that one, no issues? All right. Then, under board business, we've got resolution to issue $10 million in bonds in order for us to pave as many streets as humanly possible over the next 2 years. I believe that we've had, off and on conversation.
I'm gonna let you call them.
As far as consent or not, yeah.
Yeah.
But the goal is in essence for us to take this money, and it will have no tax increase implications because we are paying for it with the use tax, which Alderman Beatty mentioned and Mr. Slaughter mentioned as it relates to those funds that are being brought back to the city, and they are specifically directed to be used for streets. And so this is a perfect opportunity for us to have a big impact, take care of things that we want to take care of anyway, and do it in as efficient a manner as possible because we get better prices when we do more. So that's what this is, and I think it's a great idea. So.
And it's in your board packet. There's a graph that shows how we've, over the last 20-something years, how we have, oh, look.
It's also on the screen.
It's on the screen. There's a graph that shows you how many miles of overlay we've done, and I can't attest to anything before 2009, but anything after 2009 where there's been an increase in the amount of roads that were overlaid is related to a bond issue. I'm guessing that the same is true prior to 2009, but you'll see that 9 of those years we did minimal amount of overlay. 2 of those years we did no overlay, and so we've been working off of a pay-as-you-go or bond issuance through the last 20-something years. The use taxes have given us a continued sustainable stream of revenue that we can use for this, and last year the state legislature included in the allowable uses for that money, they included debt service on the types of projects that are supported by this. So we can issue up to $10 million. I suspect it will come in chunks of 5 and 5, but we can issue up to $10 million. No tax increase. All this is in your board packet. If you'll scroll down a little bit, Joel, you can see what's happened with our use tax over the last 3 years. And this does not reflect the phase-in period. This is those phased-in numbers annualized. And we've gone from the first year, based on our collections, thinking that we would collect about $1 million a year to, in year 2023, when it's fully phased in, more like $2.3 million. And that number, that trend line shows that it just continues to go up. At the state level, the use tax number has averaged an increase of over 20% for the last 5 years. So it's it is a source of revenue. It is a great thing to be able to get some of our minor collector and arterial roads up to where they need to be quickly, and then move on. There's also in your board packet, there's a little calendar about next steps, because the first step is we agree to issue the bonds. Then we get into the work of which streets and what our expectations are and that sort of thing. So
And we'll
first,
certainly have a work session.
and I'm hoping that we will have a work session to do that.
The other thing I think is important to acknowledge is that the plans are for 10 years. Because at the end of 10 years, most of these roads, if not, hopefully not all of them, but a good number of these roads will need to be reworked again. And so that puts you in a position to have a rolling opportunity to improve your streets. And it's a good path forward for the city. So I think it's a great idea, and I love that. So
I'm supportive, but leave it off the consent so we'll be discussing more Tuesday.
Sure.
I'd like to show the chart on there as well. The previous chart in particular, although we could show them both, and I think the public will understand, and I
There
think
you
they
go.
by and large embrace
Sure.
it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Which chart are you talking
I'm
about?
fully supportive.
One before this that shows how little.
That's hard.
Oh,
'Cause if
how
you
little
do
we
just
did?
the
Yeah.
back of the napkin math, we're talking about maybe doing 30 miles of
Yeah.
road.
May I ask a couple questions?
Sure.
None of them went.
You would, the city would fall into it,
Well, I know. I would expect nothing less. Please.
To our financial person, Ms. Sistrom, is that 10 million, that's not a ceiling imposed by the state, that's just our bonding capacity?
No, it's not even imposed. We can borrow more. That is what we can
We've
borrow.
already-
That is
not
what we
already.
can. That is what we can borrow and service the debt off of existing revenue streams.
That was gonna be number 3. So what we do is figuring out what we can service debt on based on that, this use tax money's coming in. Okay,
That'd be good for how far it'll go.
stretch it out. And that's just become available to be able to take the money and service, use it, debt service.
Only within the last year. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. All right, anything over here?
No.
Okay.
But would that be something that we would want to, that we want to leave it out and just consent and just do that?
Yeah, we'll leave it off and we'll have that discussion. That way it'll get more broadly noticed. We hope.
Amen.
We hope.
Amen.
All right, and Alderman Beatty, I know this one is yours, discussion consideration of Cotton District parking issues, so.
Mayor, I'm going to respectfully defer to Alderman Brooks to start the conversation, and I will not be for lack of a comment somewhere in it, but Michael, let you kind of head and take that.
Well, as we talked earlier in the week, we've just got so much pushback on the parking. And looking at education and maybe other ways for people to pay. So I have actually talked to the mayor this week earlier, and she's been in touch with Park Mobile about possible other devices or so that might work with them. I don't know that we've got any kind of conclusion yet, but.
I have more information whenever you're ready.
Well, that'd be great, yes.
Okay, so Google, being what it is, I Googled a bunch of stuff in a bunch of cities where they had used various and sundry ways of doing kiosks, multiple station kiosks, and one of them came up in particular. It was called Flowbird, and they have a multi-space license plate reader that will back end with Park Mobile. I also tasked Mr. Clements with looking at it from an IT standpoint, but they have some solar kiosks that that would allow us to do something other than try to find a hard connection. And so I called their representative here in Mississippi. They've got one from Mississippi and Alabama. He called me back, and basically the information that Mr. Chisholm gave me this morning was that he does not recommend anything other than the LPR. It's where you put your license plate into the machine, and they can do a back connection with Park Mobile. And he is recommending a credit card only. There is a monthly fee that he says is approximately $200 per machine, and each machine is about $7,000 to $8,000, and that includes installation. So those are the really, immediate off-the-cuff pieces of information that he gave me in this conversation. So in terms of, moving forward with it, we can certainly nail it down more, but the point would be is obviously how many kiosks, where they would be located, and then you've got the maintenance issue of $200 per machine on a monthly basis. So all of those things are obviously number driven, but that is the information I got. And then I had this thing that I printed out, and you need a microscope to be able to read it, so I didn't make other copies of it, but there are a number of things out there about it. So,
Well, that was a concern of mine, was the kiosk. How are we going to, how are they going to communicate with Park Mobile? When we put that stuff in, I went down with the chief and sat with those guys, and they kind of told me how we're doing things now. So we get a license plate. Once we get all that, it'll be different. But now Curtis has got an app on his phone, a Park Mobile app, and he just basically count. We got 6 in that zone, and he's got 6, and so he's good. If it's 7, then he goes and finds one. So we obviously have to do that. And I, I've thought about it from the point of, the kiosks seem to work really good, like in parking garages or parking lots and stuff, where everybody's kind of coming out and going this way and go here. I don't know, I'm not so sure just along University Drive that they would do us any good. But I think that if all this stuff would work, and especially if you get solar, then we wouldn't have that expense of running power to them. They might give us a benefit at some of these places where, and again, you've heard me say it, where Commodore Bob's and the retail store, a little courtyard there, and one up by Ben 612, and then maybe one up by the Vista, a few. And Alderman Beatty may say the same thing about the Midtown, so it may be, but I don't see the need for a lot of them, because I think that most of the parking is going, most of the people are paying on the app, and we do have a vocal number that are opposed to that. So that's my thought.
well, let me touch base with Joel real quick. Did you find anything out, Joel? Because I only tasked you to do this on Wednesday, so I'm short notice. But
And one of the concerns was, of course, not only the power, but the connectivity. How does it communicate? And so we know that they're solar capable, but also cellular capable. So that would be your how you backhaul the data. The cost per cellular implementation is about $40 per month for the unlimited data. But that was one of my main concerns too, because it's best to get hardwired power and hardwired network connectivity, but that's very expensive, and you have to do some digging and things like that. But there are many cities that have implementations with solar and cellular. So I looked at West Hartford, Connecticut, and they have a similar system. Each kiosk covers a certain number of parking places, and they're, with signage, it's very evident. So if you don't have the app, don't want to use the app, you can approach the kiosk and pay via credit card there. So it makes it very convenient, and they're not very intrusive with the cellular data.
okay, all right, thank you.
And I think credit card would be the way to go, because if we do cash, we'd have to have somebody go around.
Yeah, well, and this gentleman that I spoke, Mr. Chisholm, said that he does not. They don't fool with cash. They only fool with credit cards. So, and they have the QR code and the maps and.
I think that we do need to flesh it out a little bit more, maybe do a little bit more research, because it may be something that will work for us down the way, and there'd be one thing we can cross off the list.
Okay, Alderman Sistrum, sorry.
And while we're in research mode, and before we commit to, doing a lot of these, I wonder if they would let us test drive one
I'll inquire.
and see just what the usage is, if people will use the kiosk, or if it just sits there and just sits there.
Yeah, very good point.
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be a learning curve with people.
Sure.
does Park Mobile need to come look at the streets and make a recommendation to us? I mean, they're the professionals, do we need, or will they? I mean, we don't have, how many park places we talking about, Mayor?
100 and, where's my park? I think it's like 120 something. Brad, no, it's not a lot. Brad is the one who actually has that number off the top of his head, but he's not in here. But it's it's like 120 something.
But if we task it local to try to figure out where to put, one or two or three or whatever, who would do that?
Well, these guys would do that because Park Mobile does not do kiosks. Period.
Who you saying who would do it?
The gentleman I talked to, Access Control Group, he's the one who is the representative for the Flow Bird folks that I've looked up.
Put in the equipment. and
Yeah,
they just-
he's actually has them, services them. That's the $200 a month per machine.
they connect to Park Mobile?
Yeah, 200. Yes, the backside of that, they've got it, whatever it is they've got talks to Park Mobile. They also have their own, but they talk to Park Mobile as well, so.
I think we need to get those folks to come in and make a recommendation to Alderman Brooks, possibly on that, and then, I don't think we need to reinstate this thing till I don't think we need to roll it back out and start it back up till we have an alternate means of people paying for, an visible something you can go pay, put a credit card in and pay. Now there's a 15-minute grace period. Was it 10?
Yes, 15-minute grace period.
And it'll come up on that thing in the first 15 minutes. I don't know how they do it, but
It does.
you go get a takeout, something like that. But would you recommend that we get these people in, as soon as possible, try to locate where these things, how many and where they will be located?
I don't know. I didn't ask him that, but obviously, if we pursue this further, then I feel sure he will come in. He actually was in Starkville yesterday. He said he does some work for someone else here in town, for another business here in town, because they excuse me, have security and that sort of thing as well. So I will certainly get back in touch with him and see if he would be willing to come visit with us and see how we might work together.
Is he in state or out of state?
No, he's in state. He's a 601 area code, though. I think he's probably down in the Jackson area. Yeah.
Oh man, it'd be nice if he could come to you tonight. They might have been short notice.
No, he's headed elsewhere. I think he said he was gonna go, he was out next week, which is why he called me to circle back this morning.
I mean, I think we ought to do that. The kiosk that I encountered, all in Alabama does this. They have their side street. Like us on Main Street, I think it's 2 hour, driving, and they park the tire. But on their side streets, they have, I was Park Mobile. They have paid parking, and they have down at the end of the street, going toward the downtown Main Street, they put a kiosk on all those sides. So you walk up, I guess they assume everybody's walking toward down the main drag, but they put a kiosk up there for people to pay. And but I think it would be important for us to explore that and get the firm price on the initial cost, and then the maintenance or the cost for these people to run these things for us, and know that we have enough money, of course, and revenue off the thing to at least break even, certain pay for this if they're going, because we're going to pay for it. But could we do that and have, before what is the rollout date to reinstate this?
June the 2nd.
I wonder if the man would come back the 2nd. My first meeting in June.
I don't know. I'll have to get in touch with him and see what their protocol is on how they handle this sort of thing.
Wouldn't this be, and Brooks, I'll let you wait on anybody on this thing, would that be contingent to putting this back in place, be contingent on having these things the second go around?
Well, I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily the case, because we'd already said we were going to do that. I would like to know a little bit more information about it.
No, I'm happy to pursue it further. I was just grateful that he called me back this morning. He was very quick to return my call, which I'm sure he will continue to be, since he particularly is representative of this area. Yes, ma'am.
And to the point of covering cost, I think when I spoke to Webb, we're expecting another deposit from Park Mobile.
The contract says by the 15th.
By the 15th. So we should have a little better concept of what our Park Mobile deposits are. And I'm going to go out on a limb, and based on the first deposit tell you that it won't cover the cost of enforcement and kiosks. So you need to think of it as an out-of-pocket expense that's not gonna be covered by parking.
I hate to see us roll it back out and then catch some more people I mean, I don't care how big signs are, you catch folks in there, start writing tickets again without people having an alternate means to pay for this. I mean, I don't know how many tickets we wrote in the Cotton District on Thursday, Friday, on that first weekend, but we wrote a lot of them. And, you know, I think we all, this next go around, have this stuff fixed where it's ready to roll, and the person that doesn't have a Park Mobile app will have an alternative to be able to go put a credit card in the kiosk.
And let's, I say it over and over and over again, let's not lose sight of the fact that not all parking is paid parking. There's free parking around. So if the Park Mobile app doesn't work for you, there's free parking, and just, it's available.
All right, obviously, that's not a consent item, but we will talk about it again.
Tuesday night.
Yes, and whatever motion whoever wants to make, that'll be Tuesday night, so, okay. All righty, if there's nothing else, I assume no one else? Okay. Voting delegate and alternate voting delegate to MML, and Alderman Vaughn, you are usually do you wish to be again?
No matter.
Okay, does that work for everybody?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, and alternate, I think Alderman Carver has been in the past, but since he's not here, Alderman Beatty, would you be an alternate?
Sorry.
Okay. Ms. Harden, would you fill those in, sort of fill in the blank on those, and consent for those? Does that work?
Consent.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Okay, consideration of approving the proposal from Kimley Horn to develop plans for George Evans, Needmore, and McKee, and the gentlemen are here, so we're gonna give y'all a chance. Do you wanna make any kind of, or provide any kind of information, or you just wanna?
We're happy to.
Okay, we'll see if we have any questions, how about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you got yeah, you do have it up. Okay, so if everyone recalls, McKee was originally part of the Cornerstone concept. We were gonna do Cornerstone, the ball fields would move out of McKee for the most part, and it would need to be redesigned and developed to become a more passive or sort of different orientation. So the Sportsplex has been worked on, McKee next, and then Needmore, which is in dreadful shape. The building is in really bad shape. So this is to move forward with those items. And these guys have worked this up after visiting with the aldermen who in particular are impacted by it, Alderman Sistrunk and Alderman Brooks. And I think they visited with you, Alderman Vaughn, did they not? To some extent on the Needmore and Park area. So any comments from the two of you guys about the proposals?
This just moves us a step closer to
Right.
doing actual work. So this is the development of the house plans, as it were. The money is available through the 1% and 2% dollars to fund this, and I'm excited about the changes that happen at McKee particularly, and at McKee and at Needmore as well.
Okay. All right. Anything? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I assume you've taken into account the feedback we've gotten on the dog park in Needmore?
Absolutely.
We don't need to revisit that.
Not at all.
I believe Alderman Brooks is well aware of it. He's had several meetings, right?
Who let the dogs out?
And I just got word it's 186 parking spots. So got a little text. So okay, all right. So consideration of the proposals. Anybody willing to put that on consent?
Consent.
Consent. Okay. Anybody not? Okay. Consent for that.
Nay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While we had Kimley Horn's associates in the room, and it's a work meeting,
Yeah.
could we talk about the downtown project just for a moment?
Well, sure. I don't know how far. Are you? Sure.
I know y'all have not come prepared, but this would start next month. When would the briefing start, Henry, when are y'all scheduled to start coming in on this?
So we're hoping for the June 3rd work session to be able to present some information from our traffic engineer and our case studies. Our really detailed topographic survey of Main Street is complete. And we are working through the future growth projections with Edward next week to think about, not only what is the traffic today, but as Starkville grows, what would the future traffic be? And so we're working through all of that next week and hope to have the traffic study wrapped up by the end of May and be able to present something to y'all 1st June.
If this project, when it's finalized, runs in a price range where we have to look at component parts of doing A through, you got A through D or E or whatever, and you got to pick A, B, and C, or A, C, and whatever like that, is it going to be a thing where one will necessarily always be contingent on, I guess, so that if it's a, I don't know what $1 million project, and
Right.
we have capacity to do a something $1 million project below that, X below that, how do we get in a situation where we don't have to throw everything out, rebid everything, to whether you'd have change or offense or something like that? I mean, in your way to have it in components where you can pick and choose, and if we had the money and we'd like it all to be able to do it all, but if we have to pick some parts of it or something to do, tell me what you think.
Yeah, sure. So that's a great question. So the design that we're going to do, the construction documents are going to be everything from City Hall to Montgomery. So we're going to have those design done, right? And then, but along that design process, we have 3 checkpoints. We have a schematic design, design development, and then construction documents. And so at each one of those checkpoints, we're going to be updating a cost estimate based on quantities, based on what we're seeing in the market as far as, unit costs. And so as we're going through the design process, I think we'll be able to tell, pretty soon, where are we looking at? What are we trending towards as far as, total cost of the project? And then at that time, as we're going through it, we can make a decision on, is there a certain portion that we want to really focus on and want to make sure we get in? And then another portion that would be, we'd like to have if the bids come back, the way that we hope they do. So there are certainly ways to phase it in a way that it's a big impact if we need to phase it. It's a big impact and it's not something that you're having to start over, later. Does that help answer your question, or?
Did you do, or you project manager on did your division do the design work on Highland Avenue in Memphis?
Yes.
Or y'all the project managers?
We're the lead on that one, yeah. It's going pretty well so far. I don't know if you saw it recently, but they're doing all the streetscape work right now.
Sometime just some information about that and what, that's the main drag from Central Avenue into the middle of University of Memphis campus. That's and that's what they designated as they're gonna be
That's right.
their main,
And that's one of our case studies, and that project, just to kind of give you a sense of scale, it cost $6 million to do that work from Southern all the way to Midland.
Maybe a chart of the days where it just starts about right there going south.
That's right.
But anyway, you maybe could brief us on that and what it was done to enhance Highland Avenue.
Absolutely.
It's nice. It looked like it's gonna be first class.
It's going to be really good, yeah.
Alderman.
And I just want to make sure, if you haven't, that we make sure we can sit down with the merchants downtown and just make sure they're included and get their input. I'm sure that's on your radar, but I'd be happy to help facilitate that.
Yeah, no, thank you for mentioning that. What we would, once we get the meeting date finalized for coming back to present the traffic study and everything, we'd love to schedule another meeting that same day with some of the merchants to talk through some of that.
I'd be happy to help with that.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, sir. All right, a resolution on the engagement of professionals to assist. This is a kind of a follow-up. We probably should have put it right behind the resolution.
Let's do that, it's not too onerous.
No,
Yeah.
you can just move it up. This one is the resolution to go with the bonds, the $10 million bonds. So,
And this is nobody in particular, this just gives us the authority for, as we decide how to proceed, who can help us with it.
Well, this narrows the scope as you requested.
Right.
So there's only 2 professionals on it right now,
Right.
and that's Watkins and Eager, and then my work on the bonds.
Okay.
okay, so.
And if we decide we need a financial advisor,
You can roll it, that's correct.
Okay.
At the time of issuance.
Okay.
That's right.
Is there some way to make it would it be somewhat competitive or have an opportunity for
And,
somebody to?
and that, as Webb works through the issuance of the bond, and works through the, idea of whether we want a competitive bid or whether we want to use an underwriter, and I think we'll probably come back to a competitive bid. We will distribute as widely as possible, cast as big a net as possible, for people who might wish to bid on these bonds.
This one we're gonna, I think people are in agreement with, this one we could probably do consent. Yeah, just, since it's just sort of a pro forma and goes with the resolution, so. Okay. All right, moving to department business, we have a final plat. Mr. Havlin, anything in particular about this one?
Triangle Crossing, this is what the old Garen site, it's just a plating of it, they're breaking it up into four lots, as you know, it's under construction. There is no issue of planning and zoning, it's recommended for approval unanimously.
Okay.
And at the meeting, they did mention that sometime in early September, they'll be turning over the project to the first floor, and then they'll have a grand opening sometime in late October.
Awesome, it's gonna be great. Consent for that one, folks?
Consent.
All right, good, thank you. All right, under engineering, we've got canceling the bid for the construction of the Louisville Street traffic signal. Mary, you wanna kind of give us a little bit of information on that one, please, ma'am?
So we were advised that there are extremely long material lead times that were included as part of this bid, up to like 6 months. So at this time, we're saying just cancel the construction to rebid, at a later date. That gives us time to get things off the source supply to the utilities department to do construction at that time.
Okay, any issues with that?
What all that, does that gonna entail? When we say, how,
It's the light signalization?
at Louisville Street and
At
how as well?
This is at Louisville Street and Yellow Jack.
Gotcha. All
Yeah,
right, sorry.
okay, yeah. Okay, consent for that one, guys?
Consent.
Okay, thank you. And then change order number 2 from the SHS Bridge project. This change, we're managing that project, but the payment would be made for this additional funding by the school district and the supervisors. So, consent for that one?
Consent.
Okay, thank
What was
you.
our cost, what was the city's part in this bridge?
We've just been managing the project. We don't.
We didn't put any money?
No, it was a bridge project, so.
Through the school's funds, or whatever.
Yes, school and the county.
Was this one of those emergency road and bridge?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
most of it came
ER
from state
whatever it
funds
is.
and.
ERB, thank you.
The
Emergency
question
road
was,
bridge.
who handles the overage?
We had 100% grant on the
Yeah,
work that we've
we'll
done
skip
so
that
far.
one. Okay, so we'll skip the claims docket, acceptance of the April financials. We good with those?
Consent.
Thank you. Okay. And then approval to renew property insurance with Travelers. Lisa, you want to fill us in just a little bit on that?
Yes, we did go out, we tried to solicit property. As y'all know, a couple of years ago, we had the number of claims plus the dollar amount of claims has given us a bad loss run report history. We did go out to 5 different entities, and nobody wants us yet. They asked us to come back next year, as long as we continue where we're at now. But the overall policy will be increased by about $10,000. It'll go from $127, I believe, to $136. Majority of that is gonna be the airport. Right now, their insurance is covering the fences and the gates and all of the new electrical equipment as an attachment to the building, which has a higher deductible, which buildings have also accounted for replacement value due to materials and supplies, has also gone up, and a lot of insurance is going up based on that. But that would break out the airport entities separate from the building, and so the airport will pay most of that increase in this year's tax.
So where did we have losses that drove our loss thing up where
Well, if
anybody
if
bid
you
on it?
recall, we had the sanitation department lost a couple of trucks, fires,
Right.
and
This
when
is
I'm
the
rolling.
auto and the physical and
Yes,
the
yes,
building
yes,
coverage
yes.
also.
And there's a chart inside the package that shows.
And we just, so Travis writing our property, our buildings, and our auto coverage, physical damage, and then we get our liability through the pool down in Jackson that extends to, as auto and premises and extended operation liability. Okay.
Consent.
All right,
Gotta
thank
have some
you.
insurance.
Okay, thank you. Lowest quote for financing on a tractor and a Durango, and this is a quote we got from.
Bank First, I didn't.
Bank First, okay, consent for that one?
Consent.
All right, thank you. All right, HR, we have some folks to hire. Mr. Ashford, I see you waiting in the wings there. So we have the code enforcement officer. We are replacing The lady that we lost, she moved down to Biloxi, and so we're ready to replace that. Consent?
Consent.
Ms. Childs.
Thank you. Allison Childs, yes, I was hunting for her first name in my head. Yes, she moved down to the coast. Consent for that one, we have
Yes.
radio operator dispatcher,
Consent.
okay, and then maintenance worker in sanitation environmental services. Consent for
Consent.
that one. Intern in the Starkville Utilities Department, is this one of the Peace Project interns?
ma'am.
It's a
It's not.
regular intern?
It's a regular
Okay,
intern.
all right,
Consent.
consent. Then we have part-time aircraft lineman at the airport. Consent for that one. And the number 6 is in response to the annexation. So these are hiring all those folks that are going to service as a part of the annexation process as we are gearing up for that. So
Okay, Consent.
consent for that, thank you. And then an entry-level firefighter. Consent, all right, thank you. Under police, we have access control purchase from Security Solutions. Lower of 2 quotes, consent for that one, okay? And then a justice award, a justice grant, applying for it, so consent for that.
Consent.
All righty, and under utilities, we have the source of supply bids, which is our typical every 6-month deal, consent for that one.
Yes.
And then declaring some stuff as surplus and selling on
Consent.
gov deals. Okay, and this doesn't say in selling, Oh, we-
Mr. Kemp left that off.
Well,
I'd like to try it.
let's put it on there, please, if you would add that, so that when we do that, everybody understand what I'm saying? We've got it as surplus, but we aren't saying on there to sell it on govdeals.com. So we're gonna add that as language to it for consent purposes.
And I will tap onto the mayor. We recently sold a lot of scrap goods on Gov Deals, and we're seeing higher prices because, especially old junked vehicles, because people are needing parts off of them.
Yeah.
So that is a good source.
A lot of things going to scrap. Okay, thank you. And the next one is best bid for the wastewater force main, consent. And then last but not least, the lowest quote from Welding Works for the removal of trees and green oaks is for the sewer project. So,
Consent.
awesome. All right, thank you. And we do have one executive session that Mr. Ladder will go over at that point in time. Is there anything in the packet?
conjunction with Ms. Walker, too.
Yes, in conjunction with Ms. Wofford. Is that, have we got that in the packet, information on that in the
I don't
packet?
have any information.
We just need to hear.
Yes, sir.
You talk to the people, the equipment people on the kiosk thing before Tuesday night, and they get committed by them for that first meeting in June or something. Let us know.
I will certainly do that. I'll be happy to do that. Okay, if there's nothing else?
Oh. Please have some cake, a German chocolate cake. Wonderful. No gifts, though. Okay.
Thank you. We're getting some cake in here. So we are in adjournment. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you Tuesday.